Yes, I think that free software has brought in the ability of people to interact with their software and their technology. And before, actually when you go back to 1969, software was written for individual people, for an individual purpose. You gave them a specification of what you wanted, and then somebody wrote the software for you. When the package software came out in about 1977 to 1980, people lost the ability to specify what they wanted with the technology. And instead, somebody else was telling them what they needed to do with the technology. Free software has freed them up from that. Free software allows them to, once again, change the technology to meet their needs. And that's the way it has changed the interaction. It's really happening for the people that understand that they can do it. There are some people that they're like chickens who have been raised in a cage their entire life and they've never been outside the cage. When you put the chicken outside the cage, it sits there like this. It doesn't know what to do. It doesn't know how to scratch for food. It doesn't know how to peck. But when you allow it to have some time, it takes those tiny steps and finally understands what it's like to be a chicken. I can ask them the very simple question, if proprietary software is so safe, then why does Microsoft keep having problems with people breaking in? I mean, you have to think about it. I mean, if what made software safe was being closed and binary only, then Microsoft would have no problems. In computer science, we know that you cannot get security through obscurity. On the other hand, if you allow many people, to look at the code from different angles, then you can probably find the bugs before they are exploited. And if they are exploited, then you can easily patch them. You do not have to wait for the manufacturer of the software to give you the binary patch. When people realize that instead of sending lots of money out to a foreign country to buy software, that they could be creating local jobs for their own people, creating a local economy for themselves, then I think a lot more people will be using free software because they'll understand that when they pay the local programmer to tailor the software to their needs, that generates local business for them. The local programmer buys local food, local housing, local clothing, and pays local taxes. How much cachaça does Bill Gates drink in a year, okay? Many years ago, when I first came to Brazil, the person who helped to introduce me to free software here in Brazil was a man named Mazzoni. And he was a very good person. He worked for Celepar. And I've seen the way that the government and industry work together with the free software community here in Brazil. And I think that's a very, very good thing. I think that government and industry and the free software community should work together to help to solve the problems of each one. And I hold this up as a shining example to other countries around the world of what they should be doing with free software. It's the application of free knowledge to a practical sense, because Software Livre depends upon people willing to exchange their knowledge freely between people. I've been asked many times by many companies, how can we apply the lessons learned in Software Livre to the rest of our company? And I say to them, in our society we are taught, compete, 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 compete. Don't share your ideas with your competitors. On the other hand, all this does is create duplication of effort over and over again, as each company has to reinvent the same thing. What people need to learn to do is to share the ideas in the places where the customer really doesn't care. The customer doesn't care what car you rent. The customer doesn't care what cleaning service you use. The customer doesn't care. These are what we call non-discriminatory things. And you should share ideas, even with your competitors, as to how to lower those costs, so that you lower the cost overall to the customer. So more customers can afford to buy your products. So you grow the number of people that are buying the products. then you can still differentiate on what we call the key competencies, the key differentiators between you and your competitor. That's the thing that you should be keeping to yourself.